So, what's the fascinating and unique story behind one of the most beloved spacecrafts ever seen in sci-fi television history, the Eagle Transporters from Space, 1999? Let's find out. Movies,
Music and monsters.
Hey my friends, Dan Monroe here talking about movies, music, and monsters. Yes sir, my friends, the ever-popular Eagle Transporter spacecraft from space, 1999. I touched just a little bit about these amazing ships last Saturday in my 1999 retrospect video, and wow, I gotta tell you, I knew that video would be popular, but I had no idea it would be getting 50,000 views in a single day. Definitely one of my biggest videos to date, and thank you for that. Really happy everybody enjoyed it, but today let's just take a long, hard look at probably everybody's favorite character from that show, the ships themselves, the Eagles, as memorable as the Enterprise from Star Trek, as beloved as the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. This particular spacecraft, from its design and creation all the way through the production of the series and the unique history of where all these models ended up today, is not only fascinating, but super interesting. So, grab your comlock, your stun gun, and your favorite modular Eagle ship with a bucket of stale popcorn, and let's dive in. The Eagle Transporter, probably my favorite science fiction ship ever. Well, other than the Jupiter 2, of course. The Eagle is, without a doubt, the one iconic image that sums up Space 1999 in general, designed by the brilliant British designer and special effects director Brian Johnson, who not only built models for Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, but also did special effects work on the Thunderbirds, Alien, Dragon Slayer, A Clockwork Orange, The Never-Ending Story, and so many more. We could literally be here all day. Interesting, the Eagle was originally called the MTU, or Multiple Transportation Unit, basically an outer space workhorse, as Brian Johnson often referred to it, stating in 1976 that the Eagle was based on a kind of a grasshopper shape, which just sort of grew over time. Originally, it was considerably shorter before filming started, but later began getting longer and longer, and this is super cool. George Lucas was so impressed with his work that he offered Johnson a job on the original 1977 Star Wars. But even though Johnson was unavailable at that time, he did work on The Empire Strikes Back, whose special effects received a Special Achievement Academy Award. Now, as with most movie and television models and props, there is almost never, ever just one of anything, and the Eagle Transporter was no different, with several different hero and long-distance models being created at various different scales and sizes. There were, in fact, a total of 3 44-inch long Eagles. Technically, for all you guys that like to argue online about every single millimeter, these models were actually about 43¼ inches long, but they were simply referred to as the 44-inch models, constructed from wood, soldered brass tubing for the framework, and plexiglass, which, by the way, was called Perspex in England, each of which cost approximately 2,000 British pounds way back in 1974, which was actually quite a bit of money to be spending on a single prop for a television show, let alone 3 of them. The first 44-inch model was the ship that we saw in Breakaway, the Space 1999 pilot episode, and almost every episode from that point forward. It was also the model that was primarily used for all of the publicity photos at the time. Then, shortly after the first season started to get rolling, a second 44-inch long model was built and also used throughout the remainder of the series. These first 2 models were constructed by a company called believe it or not, Space Models, who also built many models for not only the Andersons' production of Thunderbirds, but also 2001: A Space Odyssey. Moving forward in Season 2, there was then a third 44-inch Eagle model constructed, this time by a completely different company, and was, shall we say, a bit more crude on the exterior, even though the interior this time had a steel frame rather than brass, which made this particular model much more capable of withstanding not only the many takeoffs and landings, but more importantly, the ever-present and overly frequent crash sequences. This third model was also used in many of the hero shots of the Eagle, and even though to the casual observer, this ship looked pretty much the same as the other two, if you look really closely, you can notice slightly different detailing on the shoulder pods, as well as other fine details not present on the first two 44-inch models. All three of these large Eagles were not only designed to come apart in modular sections so that repairs and redressings could be made, but each of them also weighed a staggering 35 pounds each, also being the only models used for filming all the spectacular Eagle crash sequences. All three of these models also had articulated struts on the landing gear, which were basically pneumatic shock absorbers used on actual aircraft, which gave the impression that the Eagle had both weight and substance to it when seen during takeoff and landing sequences. And when we got to see one of the many Eagle crashes in the show, these extremely delicate struts were temporarily removed and replaced with lightweight breakaway dummy versions. Fun fact, the nose cone section of the Eagle models not only had super cool little lights inside, but also two rather crudely painted astronaut figures that, believe it or not, came from those old Revell brand Gemini space capsule model kits that were available at the time. We then had a 22-inch Eagle model, which was used for the shots that showed the Eagle at more of a distance, occasionally seen taking off and landing on the launch pad. Cool shots, but definitely less dramatic looking than shots done with the larger 44-inch models. Then a second 22-inch model was built by Martin Bauer, the guy who built many of the alien models used in the show, that was primarily used for publicity shots, but was never actually seen on screen in the series. Then there was also an 11-inch Eagle model created, and at least one, possibly two 5.5-inch models that were used for shots of the Eagles at extreme distances, even though the 11-inch model was occasionally seen in some close-up shots docked to the Daria in two scenes from the episode Mission of the Darians from Season 1.
Yes, Commander, all very convincing, except for one very important point. How exactly did they get these Eagle ships to fly on screen so convincingly?
Glad you asked. As I mentioned previously in last Saturday's retrospect, similar to the techniques used in 2001, almost all of Space 1999's visual effects were shot in camera with multiple pass exposures. Blue screen compositing wasn't used because it was just too expensive and time-consuming. Nevertheless, the effects were really quite convincing, often filming the Eagle models at high speed so that when the film was played back, the ships had a real sense of mass and weight, and it's no wonder that Brian Johnson did it this way. He worked on 2001, and that's where he learned most of the techniques for this show. You know, I gotta tell you guys that running this YouTube channel alone is a lot of fun, but takes up an incredibly tremendous amount of time every week. The space wife is usually off somewhere teaching or performing somewhere with her students, leaving me, personally, not a lot of time to grab something quick yet nutritious to eat in between all these video shoots. Well, that all changed this week with Factor, who just introduced their healthiest menu menu yet, doubling the size of its menu to 95 healthy restaurant-quality meals each week. And believe me, it couldn't possibly be easier. All these meals are fresh, never frozen, with brand new meal customization options. You like chicken, but you don't really care for the seafood? No problem, just swap them out for free and talk about a quick, healthy meal. Just 2 minutes in the microwave and bingo! You're done. No refined oil seeds or refined sugars, just real food from Factor, with meals between 350 to 550 calories per serving. Literally just about everything you could possibly want for dinner, again, in only 2 minutes. So why wait? Head to factor75.com or click the link in the description below and use code DanMonroeFB50 to get 50% off, plus, and this is awesome, free breakfast for 1 year. That's code DanMonroeFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. The offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. So yeah, Factor. Give it a shot. I did. It's quick, easy, healthy. Enjoy your dinner. And now, back to the Eagle spaceships. It's really cool if you think about it. The models were in front of a black velvet background, and when properly lit, the camera would glide by on a dolly track past the model. Then, if it was a shot containing multiple eagles, they would just roll the camera back and rewind the film, run it again with the model moved into a different position, indicating a second eagle ship, and then just kept repeating that technique until they got as many eagles in the shots that they needed. This is great. To give the illusion of all those super cool takeoffs and landings, the models were suspended on tungsten wires, and to simulate the rocket blast, an electronically operated solenoid, which was attached to an airbrush propellant can, was installed in the passenger pod. So, when an electric current was sent down the tungsten wires, it would activate the solenoid on cue, releasing the gas through the tubes on the bottom of the model, giving that awesome looking jet exhaust combined with all the dust particles sprinkled on the launch pad. Super cool, old school Hollywood special effect technique. Fun fact, whenever we would see shots of the interior of the massive underground hangars where you would see dozens of these Eagle ships, this is awesome. They simply took photographs of the 22-inch Eagle models, printed them, cut them out, and placed them around the miniature set to save both time and money.
Okay, but considering that most props are destroyed, where are all these super cool Eagle models today?
Well, this is certainly one of the very few times I can gladly and honestly say that all of the original Eagles do still exist, along with most of all the other models that were used in the show. They've actually been on display all over the world throughout the years, many of which were seen in exhibitions in the late 70s and early 80s, and after the exhibitions were over, all the models were given to a gentleman named Phil Ray, who, over the years, slowly sold them off to individual collectors.
And the big 44-inch models?
Well, the third 44-inch Eagle made for the show was kept by the visual effects director, Brian Johnson himself, and then was subsequently passed around and sold to various different people throughout its life, including a fan in Calgary, Alberta, before being sold off to another collector in the United States. I currently don't know specifically who owns it today. I only know that it does still exist, but if you know, let me know.
And the second?
The second 44-inch Eagle is currently owned by a gentleman in the United Kingdom, clearly not only the most treasured item in his entire collection, but is still considered to this day the most original Eagle model as far as original condition goes, still painted exactly as it was seen in the final Season 2 episode of the show.
And the number one 44-inch hero model? model?
The very first Hero 44-inch model, the very first one built for the show, was restored about 20 years ago to its original condition by David Sisson and was put up for auction in London in November 2021 and sold for 125,000 British pounds, or approximately $135,000. I mean, come on. How cool is that? By the way, before we go any further, once again, super huge thanks to James Small of smallartworks.ca, Excellence in Model Building, for being an invaluable source of all this great information that I've now been able to share with you guys.
Okay, but what about all the super cool toys and collectibles from the show?
Well, back in the day, there were tons of super cool Space 1999 toys available. There was the extremely popular Eagle Freighter by Dinky Toys, the Lunar Rover and Probe by Roadstars, of course, the 9-inch action figures of Commander Koenig, Professor Bergman, and Helena Russell by Mattel, Viewmaster cards, the Comlink communicator, the Mattel Eagle Transporter, the Space 1999 Squirt Gun, the Adventure Play Set, the AMT Alpha Moonbase model kit, and of course the awesome Eagle Transporter ships, including the very long-awaited and accurate 22-inch long model kit based on the 44-inch studio model released in 2015 by a company called the Round 2 Corporation and sold extremely well, along with a ton of other Eagle model kits that are currently available today, links to which are all in the description. The Eagle Transporter is not only one of the most beloved spacecraft in movie and television history, but also represents a cinematic icon of the age, proudly taking its place among other great ships and vehicles in Hollywood history like the Shuttlecraft, the Martian War Machine, the C-57D, the X-Wing, the TIE Fighter, the Land Speeder, the Jupiter 2, and so many more. We could be here all day, but that, my friends, I really hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive all about the Eagle Transporters, and if you did and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a whole bunch of new videos coming up really soon that I know you guys are just gonna dig.
And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always buy us a coffee. Link in the description.
And please feel free to stop back anytime as we together continue the conversation on movies, music, and monsters.
Movies, music, and monsters. Danger, danger.
How cool is that? What happened to the cool props? Oh, we finally really did it. We blew it up. Damn you all to hell!
Sir, wake up. You're having a nightmare. Regain consciousness at once.
Hey, who turned out the lights? I was just charging my power pack.
No remakes. No reimaginings.
Snap out of it, Dan. Wakey, wakey.
Oh my god. Okay, I just had the worst dream. Fans, robots, shows, commercials, and there was something horrible trolling in the middle of it.
You know a dream can't hurt you?
No, not me, not us. There was something trying to break into the studio. It was going to demonetize the channel. I could hear it roar and bellow.
You'll take care of him, won't you, Robbie? You'll protect him?
I'm completely helpless as long as he uploads here so willfully.
Okay, Monroe, what's the scoop? What's eating you?
Well, honestly, if you must know, it's you two guys.
Us? What did we do?
Come on, really? All your constant bickering and interrupting while I'm trying to cover important stuff in the movies.
music.
And monsters.
I can see where that could be somewhat off-putting for some viewers.
You think?
Well, c'est la vie. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it.
Very well, sir. What do you suggest?
I will make a deal with you two guys. From now on, you let me do the show my way. You can chime in occasionally if it's appropriate to move the narrative along. But this back and forth between you two morons has got to stop.
And what's in it for us?
Yeah, man. Where's the beef?
At the end of almost every episode, not all, almost, you guys can have your very own little segment, no holds barred. It can be about anything you guys want to discuss related to the show I just covered, but remember, kids may be watching.
I'm scared. Robbie can be mean sometimes.
Maybe I'd lighten up if you didn't always start something. You provoke me. You're a king mixer.
Am not.
Am too.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Do we have a deal or not?
I suppose.
My built-in directive may have issues, however.
However, nothing in the interest of intergalactic peace. I just think the most important thing is that you two guys both remain civil. Robbie, no more cheap shots to the power pack. You're older. You should know better. Set an example.
Very well. Together, Robot and I will take over the post-credits, and one day, the whole show.
Perfect. What?
Yes, we can be friends. Will, I shall call you Will.
You can call me whatever you like, as long as the epilogue segment is called Robbie's Roundup.
No, B9's Big Show.
How about B9's Big Bungling Bubble Butt?
How about I punch you right in the krell?
Well, my friends, tune in for the next show next week in its original classic format, but stick around after the credits for the robot ramblings. Should be interesting.
More interesting than having him call me Will Robinson for an hour?
Will I?
Why don't you go 3D print a chicken?
It's started again.
Blah, 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 your mother wears rubber
star
tracks.
of the show.
No one
My
really
mother
ever
told
liked
me
you
so.
anyway,
Sticks and
not
stones
even your
may
mother.
break my
I
bubble,
asked
but
her,
they will never
and
deactivate
by the
my
way,
power
our
pack.
dad
I
always liked
certainly
me
wish
best
Dr.
for
Smith
very
was
obvious
around during
reasons.
times like
I'm
this.
smarter,
How
more
dare
talented.
you.